I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. Again, if it was not for the movie Deliverance, remember Banjo Boy, there would be no Lakewood 400 Antiques Market. You're going to have to stick with me because this story has quite a few twists and turns, so here we go. In 1972, our dad worked for the Georgia Department of Industry, Trade, and Tourism. His job was to entice people and businesses to come from outside the state of Georgia and spend their money fueling Georgia's economy. He was made aware of unusual activity in Clayton, Georgia, a small town in Rabun County up in the North Georgia mountains. Dad made the trip to investigate and was amazed at what he found. Hotels were fully booked, service stations were bustling with business, restaurants were filled with people, every kind of business thriving. What was going on? Upon further investigation, he discovered there was a Hollywood production company in town filming a movie. That movie was Deliverance. Deliverance was a 1972 thriller movie. The film was a critical and box office success, earning 3 Academy Award nominations, 5 Golden Globe nominations, and launched Burt Reynolds' career. In 2008, Deliverance was selected for preservation in the United States Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. Let's take a look at the original 1972 theater trailer.
Where are you going, city boy?
We'll find it.
It ain't nothing but the biggest river in the state.
These are the men. Nothing very unusual about them. Suburban guys like you or your neighbor. Nothing very unusual about them until they decided to spend one weekend canoeing down the Cohulawasi River. Ed Gentry, he runs an art service. Wife Martha has a boy, Dee. Lewis Medlock has real estate interests, talks about resettling in New Zealand or Uruguay. Drew Ballinger, he's sales supervisor for a soft drink company. Bobby Tripp, bachelor, insurance and mutual funds.
Where you going?
All right, I'm looking.
These are the men who decided not to play golf that weekend. Instead, they sought the river.
Would you like to jacket on?
You, Lewis. He could be out there anywhere watching us right now. We ain't gonna be so hard to follow dragging a corpse.
Lewis, I'm gonna pull off to the side. There's something wrong. No, go on!
What is it?
Oh, stop it! Go ahead, I'm gonna pull in. No, no! Drill! No, push!
John Boorman's film of James Dickey's explosive best-selling novel.
There's a song in the movie called Dueling Banjos, and the scene became truly iconic, featuring Banjo Boy. Incidentally, Banjo Boy's real name is Billy Redden. Let's take a look.
Come on, I'm with you.
Billy visited Lakewood a few months ago, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the film's release. A little tidbit, Billy could not play the banjo. A gifted musician slid his arms around Billy, and through clever camera angles, it appears he is playing the instrument. Now the story is getting ready to take a turn, so stick with me. Dad realized this Hollywood production company was spending tons of money and saw it as an opportunity for the state of Georgia. He arranged an appointment with then Governor Jimmy Carter to pitch the concept of Georgia being a destination point for film and television production companies to bring their projects to our state. Here's the story of the establishment of the Georgia Film Commission.
Yeah, guys, of course we wanted to talk to the person who started it all, but when we reached out to Ed Spivia, he told us that he was battling Parkinson's disease and he didn't want to appear on camera. So of course we respected his wish, but he did speak to us on audio. Take a listen.
When we talked with Ed Spivia, we talked about things a long time ago, 1971 to be exact. That summer, Ed drove up to Rabun County, where a new business had moved into town.
These are the men who decided not to play golf that weekend.
Film production for the movie Deliverance, starring Burt Reynolds. He was writing for a brand new magazine he just started called Georgia Trend.
Part of our charge is to bring in tourism, and I saw how similar tourism and filmmaking were.
Instead of seeing movie stars, he saw people renting hotel rooms, caterers, rental cars. When he got back to Atlanta, he headed straight for Governor Carter's office.
Governor Carter said, let's go and get more of this business. You go do it.
And oh, did they get some of that business. By 1982, Spivia had brought 187 movies to Georgia, leaving an estimated $500 million in our state. And they did it all without tax credits. Spivia would visit with hotels, caterers, lumber yards, banks, all to help lower the filmmakers' costs in exchange for filming in Georgia. Governor Carter would fly out and pick up the stars, even host dinners at the governor's mansion.
What was your best sales pitch, if you will, to convince them to come? What worked?
I'm Jimmy Carter. I'm your governor. I'll help you find locations, etc. Carter loved the film industry, and he was gearing up for his run, and they liked him.
Governor Carter and Spivia visited Los Angeles, New York, making friends with producers, studio heads, and production companies. They got the business, and Carter gained important allies for his presidential run.
And it made sense. You can criticize him for it, but it worked, and he made it work.
But they had one ace up their sleeve that could never have imagined, Burt Reynolds.
Well, Ed Spivia was really the driving force behind it.
The A-Scene also spoke with Burt Reynolds shortly before he passed away last summer. Reynolds was the most successful movie star of the 70s, and he had Georgia on his mind.
This is one of the best places I've ever shot, and I've told everybody that I know that, and I feel responsible for 4 or 5 pictures being shot here that I wasn't even in.
Well, why did he like you so much?
I'm a nice guy.
No, but why were you were a nice guy?
I think that he felt like we did everything we could to make his films, and all films, make money.
I think that anybody in 1970 Georgia thought that Hollywood stars would come calling.
It's just one dummy.
And that one dummy would take the helm of the Georgia Film Commission in the early 2000s, this time with tax credits up its sleeve. And despite a lot of opposition, it was actually Spivey's idea to have the Georgia Peach roll at the end of movie credits. Back to you.
Today, Georgia's film industry is #1 in the country, surpassing New York and California, boasting an annual $10 billion economic impact on the state. The film industry in Georgia has pivoted from a come-do-your-production-and-leave business model to an industry that is permanent and ongoing. Countless well-paying jobs have been created. Major production studios and facilities have been built. Thousands of small businesses have been created, like acting schools, catering, set builders, and on and on and on and on. The list of productions over the years, and now even decades, is literally too long to list here, but recent productions in the state you might recognize is the Ozark series, the whole Marvel series, all the Walking Dead series, The Amazing Race, and maybe not so new, but who could forget the iconic Smokey and the Bandit series?
Universal presents Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jerry Reed, and Fred.
We're gonna really have to cook. I mean, put it on the back burner and let's cook. Is that a 10-4? 10-4.
And the only thing that stands between them and an $80,000 prize, Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice.
I gotta barbecue your bandit. I got a Smokey report for you. What's your handle, son? My handle is Smokey Bear, and I'm tail grabbing your ass right now.
This is Smokey and the Bandit, the story about a lazy weekend in Alabama, Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia.
Daddy, the top came off. No. We ain't gonna make it, son. We come this far, ain't we? Look, when we say we're gonna do a job, we do a job. It's me they're after. They don't even know clean snow exists. Oh, they don't. Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do.
Smokey and the Bandit, proving once and for all, it's not where you're going that counts. It's who the hell's in back of you.
You got to duck it. You gotta keep that trucking. Just put that hammer down and give it hell. Eastbound and down.
So you may be thinking, that's great, but what's it got to do with the Lakewood 400 Antiques Market here in Forsyth County? Here's another twist, so stick with me again. As the years passed, the industry grew, and Dad became a pretty serious businessman. Even declared one of Georgia's 100 most influential businessmen by the Atlanta Business Chronicle. USA Today wrote an article entitled, "A Businessman to Watch." I have a scrapbook at the house with literally hundreds of stories and newspaper articles about Dad. It seemed like he knew every politician, athlete, and celebrity in town. He became really good friends with Burt Reynolds. The movie, Smokey and the Bandit 2, was in production here in Georgia. Burt and the filmmakers approached Dad with a location request. For a scene in the movie, the filmmakers needed a huge roller coaster to blow up and destroy. As usual, it came through and located the perfect roller coaster for the scene. It was located at, wait for it, the old Lakewood Fairgrounds in South Atlanta. See where we're going? Take a look at this clip.
The funny story about the coaster is that the man who owned the franchise was faced with having to tear it down because it had been condemned and was dangerous, and along came Hal Needham, the director.
He asked me if I could get it for him. I was film commissioner, so I went to the city and they said, yeah, we won't have to pay for tearing it down. He brought Jackie Gleason and Burt and put them in the car and went underneath the roller coaster. Slats breaking everywhere and them just flying. Made the roller coaster famous, more famous.
And was famously blown up at the end of Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Production for that shot at the old Lakewood Fairgrounds took about 2 weeks. During this period, Dad spent a lot of time exploring the old abandoned property that was built in 1932 and home of the Great Southeastern Fair. The fair closed in 1975, and Lakewood sat in disrepair for years. Dad saw something in the old historic property. Somehow it spoke to him. He thought about what the property could become, the potential of the 106-acre complex with over 500,000 square feet of beautiful old Spanish-style buildings. As it turns out, Dad had a big decision to make. Should he leave his position at the Georgia Film Commission, a governmental department he created, or take possession of Lakewood and develop the property back to its former glory? I think you know which direction he went. Dad took possession of the property in 1984 via a 99-year lease from the city of Atlanta. His ultimate vision for historic Lakewood was to renovate the buildings into a state-of-the-art film and production studio. This whole project would be no small undertaking, but it was Ed Spivia after all. Dad set to work, and the first order of business was getting the property producing cash flow. Through key partnerships, Lakewood would become home to some of the biggest promotions in Atlanta. Independent promoters would take possession of the property for a fee and promote their event. Nopi Auto for years would draw over 100,000 people to their car show. The hunting and fishing shows drew 25,000 customers a day. The Atlanta Boat Show was huge. The list goes on and on. Here's Dad at A-Bait, a motorcycle rally that was one of the largest motorcycle rallies in the country that raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charities. Dad also put together the historic Lakewood Antiques Market. This market was literally known as the biggest and best in the country. Thousands of dealers and tens of thousands of customers would visit this phenomenal monthly event. The story is coming together for you, we hope.
There was a facility south of Atlanta that was doing an antique show, and I saw what they were doing and thought I'd try it. And we had the perfect location, so it turned out that we won the war. Who would have the antiques business? One of the people who helped us move the film studio and Lakewood site, and she actually came down and worked her booth. She and her sister spend the second weekend of every month at Lakewood. So it was good to have her involvement. It helped us move things along.
Dad also formed a key partnership with Universal MCA, and the Lakewood Amphitheater was born. Lakewood has hosted literally thousands of top-tier touring music acts and is regarded as one of the finest concert facilities in the Southeast. And finally, working with the city, Dad's dream of a world-class film and production studio came true with the creation of Screen Gems Lakewood Studios.
We had tried for years and years to get sound stages here with no luck. Screen Gems and George Cooney was the first one to, kind of see the potential. It kind of changed the landscape of what could happen in Georgia. I mean, at one time, we couldn't accommodate the big shows.
Atlanta has lost so many exponents of its history. I think Lakewood belongs in the whole crown of historic jewels that we have in the city. It's a part of the unique experience of Atlanta.
Dad's work was done at Lakewood. Now what? Dad knew he had an asset. That asset was his relationship with the thousands of dealers that had participated in the historic Lakewood Antiques Market. He just needed a new facility to start his show back up. Dad's movie location scouting experience kicked in. Eventually, he found an empty building sitting on 26 acres that was an abandoned flea market. That facility sits on Highway 400 in Forsyth County, and for the past 20 years has been home to the Lakewood 400 Antiques Market.
If you thought the Lakewood 400 Antiques Market was just antiques, you'd be wrong. We feature over 500 unique vendors with everything from furniture, crafts, home decor, and lighting. Plan on spending the whole day. Don't worry if you get hungry. Enjoy lunch at Big D's Barbecue. After lunch, get back to shopping. You'll love our dealers that feature artisans, hobbyists, collectibles, signage, vintage clothing, jewelry, and artwork. Even stop by the local market and take some goodies home with you. Find your next treasure at the Lakewood 400 Antiques Market this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
We lost Dad a few years back, and along with his wife Barbara, Greg and I have become the owner-operators of Lakewood. Lakewood 400 is a true family business. During our monthly event, you will find sons, daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, and even great-grandchildren working the show. Ed Spivey is a tough act to follow, but we can hope that he is as proud of us as we are him. Now you know why without the movie Deliverance, there would be no Lakewood 400 Antiques Market in Forsyth County.